I learned a lot about marriage after I got married. It turns out a guy has a lot to learn. Like, apparently, we husbands are supposed to listen all the time, like, even when she talks a lot. And we're supposed to listen even when she talks during the big game. It took me a while to learn that, but boy, did I learn it. Then one Sunday, my newlywed wife and I were having lunch at our apartment, and my bride says, "What'd you think about the sermon?" So apparently, I have to pay attention to her every day and the pastor on Sundays. It's tough though, especially because now that I'm older, I'm more easily distracted. Like, I'm at church trying to be a good boy and pay attention, but there's so many things that throw me off. Like, there's this guy in the fifth row trying to be his own chiropractor. He's like taking his whole arm up over his head to audibly crack his neck. Then he finally puts his arms down and he has to rack his head back and forth just to uncrack what he just cracked. And then there's this lady across the aisle whose purse must be at least 4 feet deep because she's got her whole arm in there clanking around, digging for something. Of course, there's a cell phone that goes off interrupting the preacher. I always silence mine before, so no worries here, but everybody stares at the poor guy like staring at him's going to silence the phone faster. That happened at my uncle's funeral. Phone goes off right in the middle of the eulogy. My wife looked right at me. It wasn't even my phone. After the funeral, I told her, if you hear a phone ring in a church service or funeral, it's never my phone. Don't look at me. She said, but I really thought it was your phone. I said, even if you do, look at someone else. It's whoever you look at that others think is guilty that counts, right? I also had a reminder about another piece of advice that applies out in public. See, we were out and about at some store. I wish it was Hobby Lobby, but it was some knockoff artsy craftsy retail place like Boredom Storedom or something. So she's looking through all this craft stuff and crash! There's a sound of broken glass. What does my wife do? She goes and checks to see if anyone's hurt. How compassionate. I tell her, no, run, get at least 4 aisles away, because I guarantee you that's who broke it just did. Otherwise, you're standing there covered in broken glass, covered in glitter, and the guilty party's clear down in aisle 16, and their parents are in aisle 20. Speaking of troublesome kids, my kids interrupt me, but they don't interrupt my wife. I think it's the sound my wife makes, interrupting them, interrupting her. It's a sound I can't make either. It's like the mixture between a machine gun and an angry goat. I keep trying to have my wife teach me that sound so the kids stop interrupting me, but she won't teach it to me. I think she likes the power of controlling the kids when I can't, right? So, we've got 3 kids. When my youngest was 4, he came up and said, Daddy, the toilet's clogged. It's never Mommy, the toilet's clogged. It's always Daddy, the toilet's clogged. And it's never Daddy, I clogged it. It's always the toilet's clogged, like it just happened and no one knows how. But I looked down at this tiny 4-year-old boy. I'm like, you're so small. What'd you clog it with? He was so cute. He's like, come help me fix it. So as we walked to the bathroom, he reached out to grab my hand for moral support, and I'm like, I ain't touching your potty hands, just I'll follow you to the bathroom. So we get there and the lid was already up, and I just looked down, looked back at my little boy, and after a quick calculation I figured that log was 2.5 times the size of my boy. It was like a sequoia in there. And I'm not talking about a Toyota sequoia, I'm talking about the actual 200-foot tall sequoia tree. I won't tell you how we solved that problem, just use your imagination. But actually I am going to tell you, there's no need for a workout. I got my cardio in, pumping that plunger, breaking out in the sweat. At least I hope that was sweat. There's so much water splashing around, who knows. It took me like a week to get that thing unclogged. So, a month later, same kid, there's something wrong with the toilet. No eye, as if, maybe his siblings may have done it. So I tell my wife, hey, clear my calendar for the next week, I'm going in. But as we get closer, every step up the stairs, the smell just gets exponentially stronger. Halfway up the steps, we both know it's going to be bad. I reach out and lift the lid with my nose as far away as I could. I glanced down, and it was like a terrorist had diarrhea in there. Multiple times. I just looked down at him and said, well, son, bad news is you were sick. Good news is it looks like all the sickness has left your body. You're cured. I'm a great dad. I like to trick my kids. I remind them to check the mail, especially on government holidays. Kids, did any of you check the mail today? When they were little, they used to fight over it. They're like, no, I want to check it. It's like Martin Luther King Day, Memorial Day, or Labor Day. They have no idea. The whole time they're walking down the driveway, I'm looking out the window laughing. They come back and inform me, Daddy, there's no mail today. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But hey, it gets them off the screens for 2 minutes, right? Speaking of screens, when the kids start fussing at each other, I just have to be a good dad by preserving the peace in the home, right? Less screen time always helps. So when they fuss, I tell them, go play outside and don't come back until you're sunburned. They'd be like, but Daddy, it's cloudy outside. So I'm like, see you in a few days. My wife said it's okay for me to share these stories. I did get permission. She said it's because we're old enough now and we've been married long enough, we don't remember which ones really happened. Thank you. You've been a great audience.